The title of this video is Top 10 Artists of the Decade. So I'm going to be including people that were very prominent artists at the beginning of the decade and are still killing it now at the end of the decade. So if your fave isn't on this list and you know they've been popular for the last year or two, that's why. If you feel away, you know, just, I don't know.
Baby, on my own time, and I don't need you. I don't want you, don't wanna see you now. Wanna get back, you wanna get back right with me.
Hello! One thing I do want to say is this video isn't like ranked, it's just like top 10 artists that I thought of. But one artist is ranked. That artist is number one, but like everyone else is just there. So I'm gonna pull up my notes. Oh, if you want to see me unbox it, you know, I'll leave that video down below and I'll link it in the cards, you know. Gotta plug yourself. So honestly, I'm gonna get a few people out the way because, like, even though they're top artists of the decade, in my opinion, they're not really my favorite artists, but I do recognize that they had, like, an impact over this whole decade. So that's why they're here. First, I'm gonna start off with Justin Bieber. Started the decade listening to, like, Baby and stuff like that, and then we eventually, you know, progressed to The Boyfriend, and then we eventually got to Journals. I just feel like Justin Bieber has always been, like, at the top of his game, and even though he hasn't, you know, released an album in, I don't know, 4 years, he's still out here, you know, collaborating with different artists and stuff. Despacito, I can't even speak Spanish and I was singing that song once he got on the remix. I listened to all his albums. I used to be a diehard believer and then I kind of died down with that. So the next artist on the list is Taylor Swift. I'm gonna be real with y'all, I don't really listen to Taylor Swift anymore, but I'm not gonna sit here in front like she doesn't have bops. Teardrops on My Guitar, Love Story, her stuff in like 2014, I think, like Shake It Off, Blank Space. Taylor Swift, she found a way to stay relevant throughout this whole decade. Whether it was like the country stuff or the pop stuff or the pop rock she was doing, I don't know, but she made it work for her and her audience. I didn't really listen to anything past the Blank Space like part of time. I don't remember what that album was called. I just know I liked a few of the songs. And even though I personally don't listen to her new stuff, she's still, you know, charting. She's still selling out arenas. So clearly she's doing something right. So, you know, gotta give her props. The next person I'm gonna do is Ed Sheeran. Ed Sheeran is a very interesting case for me. This was before, you know, other artists from like overseas were becoming popular in the US, and he really just like opened the door for that, I feel like, because when he came out with Plus, everybody was listening to him. Like, I didn't even listen to that type of music at the time, but like my friends would be like, oh my god, Ed Sheeran, Ed Sheeran, Ed Sheeran, and I'm just like,
who is Ed Sheeran?
So I finally gave what's that song called? A-Team. That was the first song I ever heard of his. Like, low-key it was depressing, but like it was good. And then he just kept coming out with like bops. Like, first he moved from like the sad stuff to like more upbeat stuff with like the Multiplication album, Multiply, whatever it's called. He recently made a collaboration with Justin Bieber, and like, you know, he's managing to stay on top of the charts still too. Okay, so now that those are out of the way, I can get to what I really want to talk about. Now, I know y'all saw the thumbnail and were like, why is One Direction on the top 10 artists of the decade and they're not even an artist? I have an explanation. I was a Directioner for literally like half of this decade. Like, I still am, but I'm not as diehard as I was before. Like, I literally bought tickets to go to their concert in like 2013, didn't tell my parents. The day before, I was like, oh, hey, could y'all take me, please? They did not take me, but I eventually got there anyway. But my mom was like,
you know, I don't trust you anymore because you're sneaky.
And I was just like, sometimes you gotta be sneaky for 1D, okay? But it was worth it. Like, I went to that concert and I had the best time of my life. Like, I heard Zayn's high note in You and I. But anyway, I'm getting beside myself. One Direction rightfully deserves a place on this list. They brought back the whole boy band thing. If there was no One Direction, you would not have your BTS, the Vamps, all these other bands that came after them. Like, they really brought back boy bands. Boy bands were a thing of the past, bro. Like 1990s, like early 2000s, like that's when it died. And then boom, 2010, who comes to save the day? So not only did they bring that back, but they managed to stay on top for like 5 years. One Direction didn't truly die until like 2015. Like, let's be real. So they were killing it for like 5 years straight, for the most part without scandals. As I was saying, the reason I included One Direction was because of their like impact when it comes to groups in general, but especially boy bands. But they're all solo artists now, so I'm gonna talk about that. First, let's start with Harry. Harry just recently came out with his second album, so he's still like on top of the world. Like, you know, he's doing his little shows, he's going on TV, doing performances, like he's doing big things right now. Zayn, honestly, I feel like he had the best vocals of the group. Mind of Mine was literally like, when I tell you I knew people that like hated One Direction, but when Zayn dropped his first album, they like loved it. All they were doing was singing praises. You have to acknowledge that this man is so, like, he's good at what he does. Okay, the Zayn stan in me is coming out, but I can't help it. Niall also, I think, yeah, he dropped an album. Liam dropped an album. Louis, he dropped a few songs. I don't know if he dropped an album, low-key. I'm not even gonna front like I do. So now that I've got them out of the way, so the next person I'm putting on my list is J. Cole. When he first came out, you know, Work Out and like songs like that, he tried to get that little, you know, the radio time, you know, I feel it. But then once he became, I guess, like securing himself as an artist, and he knew like people were gonna listen to him no matter what, he really started like speaking what was on his mind. That influenced a lot of other artists that were coming up to also do the same thing. Like, you don't have to always talk about like, you know, selling drugs, shooting people up. Don't get me wrong, like it bops, like I'm gonna listen. But it's also like you can talk about other things in your rap and have people still listen. Because some people still complain, be like, oh, I just want to hear a good song, and here come J. Cole talking about oppression. But like, he can talk about whatever he wants to talk about. Like, you don't have to listen. He's still gonna have millions of people tuning in. So just know J. Cole deserves to be on this list. That's that on that. Next on my list is Nicki Minaj. One thing I've noticed is that it's really popular to hate on Nicki, and I just don't understand. Like, she's been popping since 2010 to like right now. All your faves collaborated with her. Eminem, yup. Mariah Carey, yup. Even Cardi B, like, even though they like to, you know, pretend motorsport never happened. Drake, Lil Wayne, like all these people she's collaborated with, you have to give her props. At the start of this decade, it was almost like there were no women rappers. Like, yes, you have the greats from like, you know, the 90s, early 2000s. They weren't really producing music that was chart topping during the 2010s. Like, she kind of rejuvenated the whole women in rap thing. It was like song after song after song, and she was just always on the charts. Like, there was not a time that Nicki was not on the charts, whether it was her own song or someone's song that she was featured on. She was literally running the 2010s. Like, if you can't give her props, like, you're just a hater. Like, you're a hater. I'm not saying she needs to be your favorite artist, but you can't sit here and discredit her for what she's done for rap. So next is Ariana Grande. Ever since I was watching Victorious, I knew that my girl, Ariana Grande, was gonna run the world. Did y'all hear her and give it up? Like, a lot of people tried to like trash her in the beginning because like, oh, little Mariah, like she's trying so hard to be someone she's not, blah blah blah. She never called herself little Mariah. Like, that was other people. She can't control what other people call her. Y'all sitting here hating on this girl who can actually sing. Mind you, everyone's always, you know, dragging women that sing because it's like,
oh, she's a whisper singer. Oh, well, she can sing, but she can't dance. She can't do this, she can't do that.
Ariana literally has some of the best vocals like from this entire decade. She deserves every bit of success that she's gotten. We respect Ariana Grande over here. Next I have is Rihanna. Even though, you know, my girl is doing everything except music right now, she still belongs on this list. She had bops at the beginning of the year. Honestly, even though she hasn't put out music in, you know, like 4 years almost, she's made her mark on music. So Good Girl Gone Bad, and then Talk That Talk, Loud. Like, all these albums had so many bops. Like, she was like, here you go, like, take the bops every single year. That's why I'm kind of not as pressed about her taking a break from music. It's because like she's constantly been serving us good stuff. So I think it's good that, you know, she's taking a break from music, doing a few other things that interest her, clothing or makeup or furniture, I think I heard about. Whatever the case may be, she deserves a break, but like, please drop the album in 2020. We are waiting. Next is Drake. I don't think it's a surprise that Drake is on this list because, love him or hate him, you have to acknowledge that he's literally been like running the game for like the past 10 years. He has the ability to like change his sound to fit what's popular, even though he sometimes can be a bit of a culture vulture. It works. So, I mean, a lot of people always say that Take Care is his best album. I personally believe that Views was his best album. Not a lot of people agree. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Like, yes, Take Care is timeless. It will never go out of style. Yeah, I get that. I just don't feel like it's his best album. But yeah, like Drake, he's just been able to kind of follow the times. Like, he's never been like, you know how like some artists, like they have their prime and then they kind of just fade away? Like Drake's never faded away. Like he's still here. Like he literally just put out a song yesterday and it got a lot of buzz. Okay, last but definitely not least, I don't even need my laptop to see who it is because I know in here, Beyonce Giselle Knowles Carter is the #1 artist of the decade.
Period.
Nothing else to say, like, period.
Period.
That's it. That's the video. If there were to be an artist who was the sole example of what it means to have longevity, it would be Beyonce. Like I said about Drake, like I mean this for Beyonce times 10. There's never been a time when Beyonce fell off or like wasn't as popular. Like she's always managed to stay relevant and for the right reasons. She is the best living performer that we have. And if you don't agree, you're just wrong. Like there's nothing else to say, you're wrong. You can't sit here, look at the Super Bowl, look at her Coachella performance, like look at her VMA performances, Grammy performance. Like, did y'all see the movie? Like the Beachella documentary? You can't tell me she's not dedicated to her craft. Y'all already know about the vocals. I'm gonna talk about the surprise drop. Nobody was doing surprise drops until Beyonce came around and dropped self-titled. Literally everybody and their mama thought they could do a surprise drop, and it's like, you don't have the audience for that. Just don't do that. Now you have low sales and you're wondering why it didn't go as planned, but it's like, y'all should have planned harder. You don't have the status that Beyonce has to be like, oh yeah, let me drop this single today. This single that nobody knew about, yeah, let me drop it today. The power that this woman possesses, she has the ability to influence music as a whole, like not even just like pop or R&B. Like she literally has caused everyone to want to do surprise drops. Like you can't tell me she's not the GOAT. Another thing about Beyonce is that she's always willing to like try something new and like kill it. Wow, this is kind of long, so I'm gonna wrap it up. Like I said before, this video was about like the top 10 artists of this decade, not really like the last few years of who got popular. But what I will say, I'll throw in a little bonus. So I'll add like 5 artists that I think are going to like dominate. Actually, no, that's a lot. I'm gonna add like 3 artists that I think are gonna dominate the next decade. So y'all already know Megan Thee Stallion. The fact that she had everyone, like literally everyone, teachers, kids, corporations, like literally everyone was screaming Hot Girl Summer this summer. So like she has such an impact already, and she's only really been popular for like a year and a half. She has star power. Like she has a good head on her shoulders. She makes good music. She has charisma. Like she's going places, okay? So next decade, y'all better watch out for her because she's about to kill it. Travis Scott, like I don't really... Like, there's a few songs I like by him. Even though I don't really care for him too much, a lot of people seem to love him. And, like, you know, people love Astro World, the festival or whatever. So I feel like he's already gotten popular for, like, the last 3 years. But I feel like he's gonna get really big in the next decade. Billie Eilish, I really hope I said that right. Anyway, she just turned 18 and she's already broken records and just done a lot of stuff. I'm happy for her. Like, I feel like the only songs I've actually heard from her are Ocean Eyes, When the Party's Over. I feel like there was one more, but I can't remember. Because I don't actively listen to her. There's like those 2 songs that I like. But like I said, like she's doing a lot. She's, you know, making her mark. So yeah, that's good for her. I feel like I've ranted about these artists enough. So I'm gonna go now. I hope you guys enjoyed, and you know, maybe if you're feeling up to it, you can leave your top 10 artists of the decade in the comments.